Welcome to the Libri Labra Book Club. My name is Desiree. I'm joined today by my husband, John, aka BookTubeHubby, and also by Tom, one of our book club VIP members. Really quick before I kind of jump into everything, if you ever want to join us on camera and be part of our discussion, and also be part of a Facebook group where we talk about some of the media that we're consuming, and also help us choose the books that we talk about each month, you can do that by becoming a patron at patreon.com/LibriLabra. Today we're going to be talking about The Merge by Grace Walker, and we're going to go over initial thoughts, and then we'll kind of jump into spoiler territory. So if you haven't read it, would definitely recommend doing that. And then coming back and hearing our thoughts, because I don't know about you, but I have many, I think.
Oh, there's a lot.
So this was my pick. It came out November 2025. It was something a publisher had kind of let me know about in advance, and I was like, wow, that sounds really interesting. I would love to read that. So they sent me the ARC, and I'm just glad I finally was able to get to it. I feel like it's something that I will be thinking about for a while. And I don't, it's definitely different than what I was expecting, because I kind of felt like the Alzheimer's thing wasn't as unique as I was expecting it to be, in the sense where, like, I thought the whole book was focused on the Alzheimer's thing, but it kind of
that
wasn't.
The Merge was kind of around that.
Like that was like the point
Okay.
of the Merge was specifically targeting Alzheimer's patients, which they were, but like I didn't realize it was all encompassing, and clearly there was like higher level stuff happening, which I will jump into in spoiler territory. But I thought it was pretty easy to read. I was very invested in the story from the beginning, and I think this might be Grace Walker's debut. I will have to confirm that, because I just saw her post today that she's now starting to try to write full time to see if that's something that she can do. But
The Merge is her first novel.
all right, so there you go. It was a debut. All right,
An English teacher in Surrey.
All right. So those are my initial thoughts.
My initial thoughts going into this, because I read something about it being 8 people going in for the Merge, and I actually thought it was 8 people merging into one, and I was like, ooh, I want to see how that's written, but that was not the case. So, but I enjoyed it actually quite a bit.
Tom? Oh, we
we're
can't hear
having
you for
audio
some
issues.
reason. Yeah. Oh, that was better. I don't know if you like.
It was
No,
Yeah.
I didn't touch anything.
it was
Okay.
a blip.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, remember I said sound is going out for no reason. Case in point. So no, I had not heard of the book prior to the nominating it. So I really have no initial thoughts. So.
Okay. So I guess now we will jump into spoiler territory again. If you haven't read it and it sounds intriguing to you, please go ahead and read it and come back to listen to our discussion. Do you want to kick things off?
Me?
You read it first.
For me, I knew there was a few things that were going to happen when they happened. I was like, yeah, I saw that coming. But that was only my thoughts about capitalism, government, and how they actually try to control everybody. But I guess The Merge is really so I guess we can go back into the story of its Earth's resources are dwindling. They're trying to figure out how to lessen the population, and this was their way to do so. And the hoops and the jumps they go through and, I don't know, talk people into the Merge. They treated it like the way we do marriage now, is that if you're not married, you don't get all these benefits or tax things or whatever the government can give. The Merge kind of took that place, and they were trying to actually talk people into, or not talk them into, but almost force them into making the choice to merge.
well, unlike kind of some of what's happening today, where they're trying to heavily encourage people to have more children, I guess to support capitalism, um, they didn't really want people having children in this. Um, how did you feel about like the religious aspect of it? Like the way they were trying to frame it as, well, a benefit to the future and like such like a sacrifice, and I don't know, they made it so ceremonial, like
I mean,
I'm just angry. I'm just angry right
those
now.
are psychological tricks, man.
I'm angry at the manipulation of it.
Well,
And
you
so-
have to have the tragedies of normalcy when this is clearly not normal. And it may help to know what the merge actually is. It's a merging of two consciousnesses in one body. So,
Right.
yeah.
I think it's interesting to kind of explore that concept as the concept itself, but then as what actually happened in the book, which wasn't necessarily what we were expecting.
Yeah, but you don't really
it to
find
be.
that out until late,
Yeah.
real late.
I had actually meant to, because when I started this book, I was sleep deprived, sitting in jury duty for the first time. And I had started it trying to get through it and was kind of falling asleep. I had wanted to go back to the beginning to reread the first few chapters, because there was like things that you were saying to me that I was like, what? Do we ever find out like what happened to her dad, like definitively?
I was under the impression he was trampled by a mob of protesters,
Okay.
like during a
He
riot.
was killed in a riot or something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Because like at some point I was like, no, this company did something to him. I was worried. I mean,
That would have been interesting to find out that that's how he disappeared.
when I was still thinking that the merge was real, I was worried they just kidnapped him and merged him into
somebody else.
someone within the company.
No, he died before the merge, the
Okay.
merge technology emerged. So, well, from what I remember, he was trying to save someone, and he died. He died in the process. But it's been a while since I finished it, so.
I just had like so many things going on through my head, right? Scientifically, I don't know exactly what happens during Alzheimer's on the inside for a person, but I know that like on the outside, they eventually stop talking. And like from what I recall, the way people end up dying from Alzheimer's is because eventually the body forgets to breathe. And so part of me was like, why would this even be considered as a cure for Alzheimer's? Where like if we just considered her mom's consciousness, like if she was just going to be forgetting so much, she would eventually, I would think, forget language, forget how to process any of that. Like she, like her mind would just go blank. So I just thought it was kind of a strange suggestion for a cure for Alzheimer's.
Well,
I mean, how are you curing anything?
it sounded like it was their first foray into that, as well as merging somebody who was pregnant. Like it was the first time they were trying to do these things, but they wanted it to be a successful case so they can market it to other people with Alzheimer's.
And I mean, like, really, they're just trying to make it appealing to the most vulnerable amongst our society, those who would need the most help, those who would, maybe require more of our resources or our time or like whatever. And all of that's just infuriating.
I think it also depends on where you draw the line between your consciousness and your mind with your brain. Because if I recall correctly, Alzheimer's is a buildup of protein, deposits in the brain. So if you take that consciousness and you move it to a different brain, where's the Alzheimer's then?
Where is it, right?
So is it just that the protein buildup blocks synapses?
Yeah, I think it blocks. So,
Okay. So it's not like it's a deterioration of things. It's a buildup.
well, it does cause deterioration of memory and everything
Right.
else.
Well, yeah. Because it's no longer, you can't
there's
make the connections
Yes,
anymore.
yeah, it can no longer make the connections.
Makes sense.
But if you take the consciousness out of that, or I don't know, psychotics, if there's something wrong with their brain chemistry, you take that consciousness out. What is it now?
Mm-hmm.
And they never really fully ever addressed that, which was kind of disappointing. Because it's like, okay, 2 consciousness, 1 body, done. Yeah, not that you need the whole, okay, this is what happens in like a hard science explanation. But that, throughout the book, I was wondering, it just seems like, okay, we're doing this now, and yay, we did it, without any real explanation.
So, in regards to what they were actually doing,
Mhm.
so I can fully understand this, they were giving them medication that made them more susceptible to suggestion, and basically convincing them that there was a second consciousness in their brains, right? They were doing all that subliminally.
Mhm.
And then over time, they were just pulling back on those suggestions. So that way,
They finally thought that their minds have merged. So they only had one thought process.
but really
in
they're
their
just
head
going back to
instead of-
normalcy.
Right.
Okay, so that being said, because one of the scenes that stuck with me the most was of Albie and Lori Amelia in the shower. And the panic
Well, that's
that
awkward.
was going. I mean, well, yeah, the panic that was going on in her mind, and if you
Right.
consider that her mom's thoughts were never actually in there,
Right.
and so
Power of suggestion, man.
Jesus Christ.
Because you grew up with your mom, you grew up with that person, you grew up with the brothers grew up together. They know how each other think. So then, having that suggestion, having their voices being subliminally fed to them in their sleep, and the things that they said previously being re-recorded or replayed to them all the time. That was the idea. Is the power of suggestion was to make them think that both of them were in there, so that they would fight over specific things, or have different thoughts at different times, or at the same time.
How do you guys feel about the fact that we were following Lori and Amelia throughout this? Do you think a different couple would have been more interesting to follow, or were you more curious about?
I was more curious about what was going on with the one girl and her dad.
Lara J.
Yeah, and that when she was put into his body,
Mhm.
but she kept saying that she was going to kill themselves after they did, and he ended up doing that after realizing he couldn't hear her.
Right.
Like, that wasn't her that did that, unless that was something that was instilled in his brain as well. So that's what I'm more curious about, is why that actually happened, if it was supposed to be him, unless he was like, I murdered my daughter. Holy crap.
Okay, because I didn't really stop to fully kind of process what was going on there. So if they were taking recordings of her conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would have been playing those for him, not knowing that he hadn't been taking the medication.
So he wasn't susceptible to. He wasn't hearing her. That was what was his problem most of the time. He wasn't hearing his daughter. He thought he. That's crazy.
But
He was,
I'm just I'm wondering what those conversations sounded like, because she never ever wanted to be there. So that had to be coming out in however she was answering questions in those conversations. So, like she was vocally telling Lori, I hate him, I can't stand him, he doesn't trust me, I shouldn't be here, we shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Like, and she was just very adamant about that. So that had to be present in all of her interviews. So
But would they have fed that to him, or would they have tried to have they like feed him good things that I don't know what did they get there? What did
that's
they
what I'm
get her to
saying.
say
Like,
to do the recordings?
did they not have anything?
Right. Oh. Because,
Did they not
right.
have anything good to be feeding him? I mean, but like, how does that change anything then? Like, what, they would have had nothing to be suggesting to him, even if he had been taking the medication.
Annie lost her mind, and it seemed like the brothers were the only ones that were actually considered a successful merge, that they actually were happy at the end. Nobody told them what really happened.
Right. And you're talking about a child.
Right.
And then you're also talking about a child who's still actively going to school and learning and like,
Right. Easily susceptible.
well, not easily susceptible, but like he has his time occupied, right? So if you're actively engaged in something, you're not stopping to think about the past or the future or anything like that. So that little kid was living in the present and not worried about. I mean, they were teaching them grounding exercises whenever their mind wandered, to be like, what can you see, what can you feel, what can you smell, kind of things. So like making sure to keep the people in the present was something they were actively doing.
More psychological.
But prior to learning that the merge was not actually a thing, I was stopping to consider, because you're never going to understand what a woman goes through in postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are some really dark, complicated thoughts to go through. And I was just considering like what it would be like to have an observer in there. And if it was like two parents of a child, because you do have these very crazy conflicting thoughts. I mean, I think what's important is whether or not you act on them.
And you don't know, you didn't ever tell the other half everything.
No, like, so why would you? If you're like
what they're thinking.
Yeah, but if there's like a husband that's very happy that they just had a baby and he's hearing his wife thinking about drowning the child or like anything like that, that would be such a crazy internal argument, I would think. I mean, like, that never ended up being the case because there was never actually.
I think she was more worried about them taking her baby,
which they did.
But then drugged her to make her think that a doll was her baby.
Right, just a pacifier. Yeah.
Jesus.
But what did they do with the baby, or was it just the same thing? It was like they got rid of the baby too because. Like, what did they?
Well, I don't think they got rid of the baby in the final sense. They just had to get it away from the mother off stage. Yeah. So, but I think I'd like to return to Laura J. My question was, okay, who made the decision not to take the pills?
Right. I was thinking about that too, because.
I mean, obviously, it had to be her dad.
Okay. If you're saying her dad, my next question is, how did he know to hide them in the stuffed animals?
That's what I was thinking too.
Because the way the conversation seemed to go between Laura and Laurie and Amelia was that, they never found the drugs. Ha 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 ha.
I mean, that could be an assumption. I feel like as a parent, and I don't know exactly when I learned this. I don't know if I learned it before becoming a parent or after becoming a parent, but sometimes you have to be okay knowing things and never sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
that's true.
like you have to know that your kid is doing kid things and they're not always going to do the right thing. And like, you have to give them the space to make those mistakes.
To learn.
Yeah. So, obviously if they had known that that's where she was hiding the pills and confronted her about it, then she's not going to be hiding them there anymore. Like, I don't know.
Right.
There's like a...
because it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. So, you know, she might have thought that they never found out. And also, I feel like I've read so many stories where the dad always knows something that the mom doesn't.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the
I
dad
would
like
figure it'd be the
always
other way around.
no, because the dad doesn't want to stir the pot. Dad, it's almost always the dad that knows things that he doesn't tell the mom.
That's interesting.
And I have like a perfect example, but like it's spoilers, so I'm gonna keep it to myself. I'll tell you later.
Oh.
But yeah, so um, I'm just so curious. Like
Spoiler
if
for what?
what?
What are you talking? Spoiler for this?
No,
Oh.
for like my example.
Something else.
Okay.
I guess I don't understand why the dad did that. Like
I
any
think, well, I think he, if it was the dad, oh, pills get his addiction, and therefore we don't want pills.
okay, because the dad was still believing that she would have been in there.
Yes.
Okay, that would make sense. Well, why did he end up killing them both out? Unless it was because he realized that he didn't actually save her.
My guess is it depends on how you think what actually happens in the merge. My hypothesis is that they did something, and somehow the two consciousnesses like with two ships passing in the night. The drugs helped it, but only for a while. So he may have heard her at some point. But if you don't take the drugs, you can't hear the other person. And he was expecting to hear something from her at least, but he never did. Again, because he's not taking the pills. And now for well, the merge didn't work. I killed my daughter, and so.
So then we're assuming that like literally everything is based on the power of suggestion, because there were moments where Lori Amelia was talking to Laura
Right.
J.
And
they
suggestion does not answer that.
Right, where they acknowledge seeing that person's consciousness behind the eyes of the person they're looking at.
Interesting. There was a lot of symbolism in this book. That's definitely there. I'd noticed that. So that she didn't actually stop hearing her mom until they put the body in the earth. Like there was that. There was. I had another one ready, but it just ran away. I don't know. If I remember it, I'll bring it up. But I mean, I just feel like a lot of symbolism that from one thing led to another, but it wasn't necessarily something that actually it didn't cause it. It was just something that happened, but it was something that just like a light switch turned off or on. What was the other one that I had? But I just noticed that the author does like a certain type of symbolism behind certain things happening, and then you finding information out shortly thereafter.
I was a little lost with some of the things that was happening with like Lori's mom and why she was referred to as Mary the whole time, right? That's who Lori's mom was, right?
I thought that was Laurie's friend, like best friend.
Was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Lori's best friend. Like they grew up together.
Yeah.
But she would look at Amelia and call her Mary, and that was part of her brain starting to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was like, because there was towards the end there was something that she felt like there was like a trigger word that she felt like she had to remember to put in there.
Silly sod.
Silly sod, and that was so that Mary could know that Lori was still in Amelia.
Yeah.
And Amelia read that, and in order to
I think she heard it. She was hearing the recording.
okay, yes, the recording was part of it. Okay, so but in order that's the weird part is that but in order for them like as the merge or whatever corporation was doing this, that's interesting that they kept that as part of her recording because that was supposed to be to Mary so that Mary knew that that Lori was still there, and Amelia hearing that or knowing that and ended up telling Mary that anyway, knowing that Lori wasn't there anymore, was kind of for Mary's sake.
Mm-hmm.
But then to find out that Mary came to visit them and never left the facility because she decided to merge, that's just, I don't know, I just think that she was forced into it too.
That's the other thing, that they were like not going to do it. Just everything, like, you know, like I could hear them being like, no, we've decided not to do it, and then being like, it's okay, just put the dress on, just attend the ceremony, just like, you know, everybody has cold feet. And I was just like, this is not good. And then the fact that they just got grabbed, like,
Well, plus, if I recall correctly, Laurie had a secret conversation with her handler just before that all happened. So did she tell them, hey, I actually wanted to do this? You know, that's never made clear either. Like, why did they apprehend them?
I mean,
I thought that was just like, you can't back out now. I'm sorry.
well, I mean, if anything, I feel like even with her dementia, Lori was the one that was like, no, this is wrong. This is like, she was writing herself notes to remind herself, like, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Plus, it was everything against, you know, Amelia's dad and Laurie's husband was against. That's what he was protesting against partly as well. And apparently Amelia inherited that, and that's why she's going to do this big expose, you know, mostly going through the process and saying, hey, this is what's actually going on. And then she got roped into actually having it done. So
I think it was interesting going back and forth in time because at the very beginning you have her explaining that we're going into this place again, but mom still think it's the first time and I'm doing this just to get footage.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't actually get the context behind that until later in the book.
Oh yeah, much later.
I feel like Albie was a very interesting character, and I kind of feel like we didn't get enough of him. Like, I would have liked to see more stuff from his perspective while they're kind of going through all of this stuff within the facility, like how he was trying to help them, or maybe try to get in, he couldn't, or trying to see them, or like whatever Albie was doing in the meantime.
It would be interesting to see from his perspective and his thoughts during some of the processes and
Mm-hmm.
why is she doing this? She was against this
I mean,
the
I feel
whole
like he
time.
was the only
Yeah.
reliable narrator. I mean, he wasn't narrating, but like he would have been, I feel like. And I also thought it was interesting because, you know, obviously they're having issues in the beginning, and I don't know what my perception of him was, but it wasn't like very good in the beginning. Like, I thought maybe like, oh, she's fallen out of love with him, she doesn't want to be with him anymore, and is having trouble disconnecting, or that's kind of what I thought was happening. And so I was just making assumptions that he just wasn't a good partner, or just wasn't showing up properly, or but he seemed to be like the one caring most about her mother and what her mother was going through, and like what it was doing to her to be putting on this kind of performance to try to get this information or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or she was like trying to lie to him and she couldn't, because he was like, there's no way you were so against this, and now all of a sudden,
Right.
But at the end of the day, she kind of did start to change her mind.
Well, as her mom's dementia got worse and worse, she was like, well, crap, maybe this can work, but then it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
but she did want to go back out. But she couldn't. Okay, so she couldn't back out when Albie wanted her to, because how close she was to exposing whatever was going on. She wanted more information from the inside. She got it, not in the way she wanted to. But I'm sure keeping up that facade, that lie, and that's hard on everybody. Even mom, with not knowing what her actual her daughter's true intentions were, believing that her daughter wanted her to do this to save her, but then I don't know. That was a good dramatic twist there. It's going back and forth between them, and
Well, plus also, she, really couldn't tell Laura because, because of her illness. Who knows who's she's going to tell, and then not remember telling.
that too.
And with Albie, he had legitimate concerns because, look, if you do this, we're done. So. But I think it was a tell that when they heard one of the Combines actually speak to them. And it's like there's no trace of the other consciousness in there. Oh no, there's only one consciousness, a unified consciousness is where they put it. But it's actually just one person, and that's it.
Yeah, one damaged person.
Medicine, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't actually know, unless there's that power of suggestion is crazy, because there are some of those people that will actually believe that they're both still in there. It's just, oh, I'm finally down to we're both having the same thoughts. So, like Noah and Luke. That was their names, right?
Yes? Question mark. But it depends on how fully you buy into the stuff again.
But I mean, all of the groups are led to believe that all of the previous ones were successful because they had like some come in to talk to them. But each description that you got from everybody talking about the previously merged people, something did feel off every time.
Right, and the quote unquote fully merged one, they spoke slowly. Implication being, oh, there's two consciousnesses in there. It'll take a while, but no, that's not the case.
Or they're still drugged.
Yeah. So.
But like the way Albie was mimicking them, it wasn't even just like speaking slowly, it was the way they moved. It was like everything. So I don't know, that sounds like maybe it was just an emphasized performance.
Yeah.
But I think it really makes you think about how many people are required to keep doing the thing and following orders to keep something like this running. Like, how much do you think Nathan knew? Do you think Nathan knew everything? Do you think he knew exactly what was happening to the other people and was still partaking? Like, do you think the people working at the Institute are getting paid a shit ton of money? Like, what makes you okay with
comfortability,
lying to people?
Lifestyle. I think that's also why he got angry half the time.
Well, I mean, I feel like, of course it was a man, but like he was, I'm sorry, like, of course it was a man getting upset that like the women didn't want to follow orders and the two women didn't want to be controlled. So like, I don't know. It makes me angry. I ask myself every day, like, why are there so many people saying yes? Why are all these people saying yes?
Dude, right. That video you sent me yesterday.
Well, because she sets up the society in such a way that, combines get all these, material benefits. So why wouldn't you? Apparently people get kicked out of their homes and, all right, this is combine housing now. Sorry. You know. Yeah, but my question in that line is, what kind of book do you think this would have been if she had done it more like a Logan's Run style? You merge by the time you're 30, or like not give people the choice.
That sounds like a little more further on into the future. Like this is them testing it and the trials. This is them working through it. So and when they finally get it to where it's a commonplace thing or they can force it on everybody. That sounds like something that's a little maybe 10 to 15 years from where this book takes place.
I mean, granted, it's more awful, but it's also more fair.
I mean, I hate everything about it. I'm just like the thing that they were being promised wasn't happening, right? Like we have like two things happening here. Will we ever have that science? Like, did they ever have that science? Probably not. It was just a bunch of BS. Like, it just sounds like a cult. It sounds like a death cult is what it sounds like. And they're so focused on thanking people for their sacrifice. Like, thank you for, removing yourself from being our problem. That's essentially what they were doing.
And of course, I think she makes the point that the rich are not bothered by this because they can afford to.
Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. You were saying, like, combines get benefits. Do they? Do they actually get benefits? Because to me, a benefit is like an add-on, but it just seemed like people's freedoms were being taken away. Like,
yeah, but they were given better housing, tax breaks, and everything else. So, does that balance out? I don't know, but as compared to non-combines,
I mean, to me, it just seemed like they were punishing people that weren't doing what they wanted them to do. Is what it felt like. So that doesn't ever feel like an add-on or a benefit or a plus or you know what I mean?
But they're always going to frame it
that
way.
Oh, of course they're going to frame it that way. Yeah, but like I never saw it that way. It was just like
has to fit the message. Yeah, and then Thanos has to snap. Same idea. Just a different way of going about it. But, I think that one of the parts that really bothered me was how the hell is it possible that the like Laurie and Amelia are having conversations after the merge, when there's supposedly no consciousness there. What the hell is how is that voice being generated and it's appropriate to the topic? And I think you could normally plant suggestions only so far.
Right.
Have like dynamic conversations about it. How did that happen? Like if they said, "Oh, well, we put an AI, thing and it, listens and
I mean, if they were doing it, go ahead. Sorry.
That depends on the drug because you can literally like force hallucinations.
But would they be that controlled?
Yeah, timed.
But it's
right.
That's what I was telling earlier is that you're growing up with this person. You know how they think, so like you can actually with the power of suggestion and certain drugs, they can actually like you can have that conversation go back and forth and fool yourself into thinking that it's there.
But that's not what he's saying. He's saying that those conversations were taking place at very specific moments in time.
Right. And appropriate to what was going on at the time.
Right.
Dynamic.
I
see what you're saying, John. It's the kind of thing where for the people who plan out conversations in advance, and I'll say this, and then they'll say this, and then you run it through so often, it becomes a whole conversation.
It never happens that way.
Well,
when they actually have that conversation,
because it's too dynamic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
When she started listening to the tapes, right?
Mhm.
You can tell that he's asking Lori very specific questions that correspond to the events, which tells me that all of that was premeditated. So like he's asking her stuff about um, death, and he's telling her, like he's telling Lori that Amelia's gonna need to hear this. So like the pieces that I put together was that the thing she was answering was so that he could play back for her that information after Laura J had died.
Oh,
That had
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so he was recording very specific things that her mom was saying to correspond to those things. And I'm assuming that they were probably getting played the night before,
Right.
like the night before that they would be necessary. And the way relative memory works is that when you encounter the thing that corresponds to that memory, that's when that memory is going to get
You've
triggered.
already
So,
had that synapse fired, so it goes the same path.
so like if she had subliminally absorbed that the night before, and now the event that makes it relevant is happening, then I would imagine that's what was triggering.
That's kind of what
The
I was
memory.
kind of alluding to, is that you kind of already know. But yeah, if the recording is covering that, then that's perfect. Too perfect.
Yes, and that's just like, conversation is usually so dynamic. How do you account for the holes that would happen? Because yes, I understand that there's a template for a particular conversation, but it could go off in any number of different directions. And how do you form a response to that? A legitimate response to that.
But you're like talking about conversations with two active live consciousnesses,
Right.
versus the triggering of a memory, right? Because her mom's voice at that point was just the memory of those tapes. So it's not like she was having that conversation, she was just remembering that conversation.
But so then, how do you explain? Unless they actually asked Lori about being with Albie after they merged, how do you cover the shower scene?
I mean, that shower scene is still like bananas in my brain. Like I
But
of
that's,
everything in that book, that one is the one that's like make it make sense.
that's what I'm saying. Is it?
And that's what I'm saying. You can't account for that with, I think, just preceding the brain.
But
I don't know.
that still wasn't a conversation that she had with Albie. They didn't
No.
have a conversation. So that's what I'm saying. Like she was just remembering what her mom would have felt, and also what she would have felt had she like seen memories or felt memories of her parents having sex.
Right.
So it's still just like a memory popping up versus
So that's something that we didn't touch on, because that was something that they actually did cover. Is that sometimes you'll have memories from the other consciousness come into yours.
Right.
So how?
Yes.
How?
Right. How could Amelia possibly know
There's the hole.
about her parents showering together unless she
Right.
saw them once, and then she was likely too young to know what she was looking at.
And it just
clearly,
triggered that response.
yeah, but she's clear. The shower scene, first it's Amelia thinking about Albie, and then immediately switches to Laurie thinking about her husband in the same way. Now I
Right.
get the commonality of experience, but there's two different perspectives there. But there's also enough of Amelia say, "Oh God, Mom, don't," Now
So
they're
there you
making it weird.
I still don't think that was like an active conversation happening. That was just like
A hallucination.
Mm,
I don't know if that's
That would have to be pretty deep hallucination. but
yes, yeah, very exact.
Yeah, that's
I mean, but like, they didn't go
Hallucination,
through
sorry.
all of the exercises that they were making them do, but they were messing with their heads their whole time. Like
Oh,
putting
yeah.
them in a room full of mirrors and forcing them to look at a different reflection. Like that's,
so they can get used to looking like the other person.
yeah.
I don't know. I think I still stick by the idea that somehow they figure out a way to harness like the after effect of the consciousness in another body, but that quickly goes away. The drugs may prolong your experience of it, but eventually it's just going to disappear.
I don't think they ever had the science. I don't think they were.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. That's as I said, none of this is explained. So yeah.
yeah.
So, but yeah, if that was something they were really trying to do and perfect,
Right.
and they were failing every time, they just they could not allow that failure to get out to the open.
Right.
I think it started with some asshole being like, "How do we get rid of the poor people?" And then somebody saying, "How do we get rich doing it?" And then that's
Oh
what
my
happened.
god!
1, get rid of the miserable poors. 2, profit.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That's how that started.
Okay.
And then one person was like, "Well, do we have that? We don't need that science. We just need to make them believe we have that science."
I think
That's what all the money's for, is to coerce everybody.
And how much was the pharmaceutical company getting?
What were you gonna say, Tom?
I was just going to say, I think the most unbelievable merge was the 2 young parents. You want as many bodies as you can to take care of that kid. So why would you reduce 2 to 1? If you're having a new baby, that did not make sense to me.
That was another marketing stunt. The first baby by a merge.
Yeah, but who would want to do that? For the practical, now you got to take care of this kid, and you're only one person now. It's like
No.
1 body instead of 2.
Well, but had they not done that, they would have had to pay more in taxes or something like that, right? So they
Right.
would have
Yeah, because of the
been
inequality.
at a deficit. Yeah, at a
Right.
deficit there, even
Right.
having the 2 people. So
We're not looking at traditional standards, Tom. They're trying to change that.
Mhm.
um,
But if they had standardized it, that would not have been an issue. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
but before we knew what they were actually doing, I also kept thinking about them, because I was like, is something going to happen where both consciousness gets merged inside the baby, and then what?
Whoa!
Like, that's what
Yeah,
I
that
was
would be
worried was
crazy
going to
if you-
happen.
That's an interesting
Like,
thought.
I thought there
to
were
have-
going to be like a twist or a variable where that
Okay,
happened.
now we're getting into comic book territory. So I'm sure that has happened in DC or Marvel at some point.
And then, like, then you have a baby with 3 consciousness, and like
Mhm.
a woman's body just being used as an incubator.
It does sound pretty.
Wouldn't that be a movie? 2 men and a baby, but like that. So,
That's how they got Stewie.
I mean, this is obviously dystopian, but I guess this is also like, is this sci-fi or is this like more speculative? Like,
I think you could put sci-fi under speculative fiction. So, because you could say that about fantasy too. That's speculative fiction. And then give it,
I feel like it usually says what it is. No, it just says fiction.
Well, given the fact that they are giving you at least a pseudoscientific procedure as the motivation for the book, science fiction is what I would say.
That makes sense. If it's
Wait, this is a thrilling and ominously prophetic debut set in a world when Earth and its resources have been pushed to the breaking point, giving rise to a revolutionary and highly controversial procedure in which 2 people's consciousness can be combined to exist in one body.
I don't know where I read the 8. I might have actually read some sort of summary that was like 8 people were going through this process, and they didn't specify that it was 4 sets.
But yeah, couples.
Because when I first when it was given as option, I was like, that sounds. I would really like to find out the writing behind that, but
Right.
what it was. But I still enjoyed it.
How do we feel about this being a debut?
I think she did a great job. But I mean, there's a few things that we can question, of course. But
Mhm.
again, left up to interpretation is kind of where a lot of good writing actually sits. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she swung big. I mean, that's good. Did I like all the choices she made? No, but
I wonder if like she'll continue writing kind of in this genre or if she will step out of that.
Maybe we'll get something from Albie's perspective.
That would be
If
interesting.
if it becomes a trilogy, probably. Because
Wait.
apparently nobody except for Andy Weir can write single volume science fiction novels.
So this kicks off with the T.S. Eliot, the cocktail party. It says, "What is hell? Hell is oneself. Hell is alone. The other figures in it merely projections. There is nothing to escape from and nothing to escape to. One is always alone."
Mhm.
That says a lot right there.
And then the big thing here says, "How far would you go to never say goodbye?"
But of course, then I think it was Sartre who said, hell is other people. So take your pick.
Okay, let's pretend the merge existed
Mhm.
and I had cancer.
Dude, I don't trust anything anymore.
Well, yeah,
So
sure.
what
So,
what like if the government started to try to push something like that, I wouldn't be fond of it either. But I guess
I fully
beliefs.
I fully expected John to ask what kind of cancer, and then Desiree would get all pissed off.
How about you, Tom?
What's the question? Sorry.
If I don't know if this was something that was available and it was about, if the question that's being asked is how far would you go to not have to say goodbye to someone that you cared about?
Is there
that
somebody
premise.
close enough to you that you would try to merge with to save them?
Assuming, okay, there's a lot of assumptions there. We're assuming that merge is actually a real thing,
Yes.
Right.
and it's a permanent thing.
Right.
If it worked, yeah. If we knew it worked, if we had proof. But
Would I want to be merged?
I don't know yet.
I don't think so.
I was gonna say you'd be okay with my voice in your head all the time.
Wait a minute, I didn't think this all the way through.
Because my brain,
I have a hard enough time with my own voice.
my
okay?
brain does not turn off.
And the other voice is in my head. Oh, sorry. I wasn't supposed to talk about that.
You're talking about like two ADHD brains.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then
Which-
again, would you have ADHD? If say the brain that is, or the consciousness that doesn't have ADHD gets put into an ADHD brain, does that other consciousness now have ADHD? See, that's one of the things they don't answer.
All I know is that I'm pretty sure we've read 2 books by the bloggist.
Yes,
I forget her name right now.
Jenny
Lawson.
Lawson.
Yes. And I remember every time struggling and having to pause because her anxious thoughts 100% triggered my anxious thoughts. And it was like too much. Like I just, and that's just reading.
I don't think I could live with your anxiety. I don't think I could deal
So
with
I think they'll take that as a no.
that much of your anxiety.
Sorry, Desiree, you're on your own.
Turns to turn my anxiety off at certain times, but you sometimes I don't understand where yours comes from. So that would have to put put the brakes on some of that. I'd have to really think about that some more.
Mhm.
Probably not enough because you would handle all of the thinking for it.
And then there's also the notion, who wants to live forever? And at some point, it's time to move on. But when and how that should happen, that's the big.
I mean, I think
Question.
right now at my age, approaching 50. I'd like to live for a while, but I'm sure like we're already like waking up like things hurt. It's more challenging to do stuff. We don't recover the same way. So I would imagine like when you hit 80 something.
You're tired.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But what is your interpretation of what happened at the end of the book? Because I don't know if you remember. I feel like the last chapter was very
they overthrow the Combine.
yeah. It was very fragmented.
Industry.
It was just like little snippets and chunks of like things happening. It wasn't like the same stream of consciousness. I mean, clearly
Was it even a
supposed
stream
to.
of consciousness, or were you just getting parts of the story after the fact? Because I don't remember the ending.
Because I feel like you're still looking through things through Amelia's perspective.
Right.
But it was just very choppy. Whereas in previous chapters you're hearing her complete thoughts. Whereas that chapter, she's just like chaos, things on TV. I see Albie, like someone's pulling me. Like it's just very, very fragmented, chaotic things that are
Is
happening.
that a sign of it's somehow working a little bit, and she's actually going through dementia now, or the idea that the dementia was hereditary?
I
Like,
didn't
she didn't
get
really
that
save
impression
anything.
of that. I think that when your nervous system is in a heightened state, you're not
You don't
thinking
take in all the
clearly.
information.
You're not. Yeah, you're just processing. I don't know, bullet points. Like it's just that's how that chapter came off. That like everything became really chaotic because the compound was kind of being overtaken. There was protesters everywhere, and like it was just loud and noisy, and people
Okay.
getting pulled here and there, and
Mhm.
but I guess my question is, did she make it out? Is that what we're assuming?
Or was
that-
there some sort of
Did the whole place get taken down? Did everybody die? Like what do you
was there a
think?
full circle of her dying like her dad died?
Oh geez.
Is there some sort of poetic sign in there for that, or I don't know.
I might have to reread the first couple chapters to see.
First and last, apparently.
Yeah. Well, the very last lines are, the support worker is still by the window, faces close to the glass, watching. It's now my chance. Fight through the file. One final push. I nod. Okay.
To get out, to get away from
I
it?
mean, like that's kind of what I was assuming.
Yeah.
That, like there was this whole like chaotic protest thing happening, and then that
With
was
them
her
watching that,
opportunity
it's time for me
like,
to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get away from this mess.
Yep. You want to do final thoughts?
I think it's time.
Okay.
hmm
Go ahead, you first.
I'd give it 4 stars. I enjoyed it enough. It gave me a lot to think about. It was something that was it might require a reread, in the future when I want something to do, and I'm like, okay, let me touch this one again. But I don't know. I don't like giving half stars, but 4.5 might actually be appropriate too, because I would tell somebody, I would probably recommend it to someone looking for something a little thought-provoking.
There was I wasn't holding the book the entire time I was reading,
Mm-hmm.
but there was like one spot that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna highlight that. If I can find it, I don't know how far away it was.
I like thought pieces, though. I like things that make you think about things and actually have your own interpretation of the story, of what happened, of, oh, you did highlight something.
That's what I said.
I thought you said you thought. You said you did it.
No,
Okay.
yeah. And this was just Lori saying, In my experience, the people who spend their time preaching about loving and being kind to others are often the cruelest individuals, the good people, the people who would never think to do otherwise, don't feel kindness is something that needs to be taught. It is the people who preach about being a good person, Amelia, they're the worst ones out there.
I felt that.
Yeah.
And I think it was said twice.
It was said twice.
Yeah.
It was said twice. For me, I feel like I'm going to be thinking about this a lot. I would reread it and maybe, see if there's other places that I would want to highlight. I think it's really good for a debut.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I'm open-minded enough to be like, that sounds interesting. Because I know there are a lot of people, like, I feel like sometimes I pick books and my friends will be like, why are you reading that, Desiree? Why are you reading that? I think it's fascinating. I would give it 5 stars. That's a 5-star for me because I know I'm going to be thinking it for a long time. And I'm going to be telling people about it.
I don't like that I'm about to say this, but I think I like dystopias. Like fiction, not reality.
Yeah, I mean,
Fiction.
I did question why I was reading it now. Not that things were too different when it released November 2025, but while I was reading it, I was like, this is too close. Like, there's just like
Too many
and
parallels.
usually like I do like to kind of absorb myself in things that feel current, but not
that way.
at this point. At this point, I need escapism, and that wasn't enough of an escape. That was just infuriating reality is what it felt like. But still, I give it 5 stars, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else she decides to write in the future if she continues kind of with this
No, I
genre
agree.
or
I'd
whatever.
read more of her stuff.
So I started following her on Instagram, and her Instagram name is Grace Rose Walker, just in case anyone is interested. All right, Tom, how about you?
I think I would give it a 3-star rating. Because while I was reading it, I was like, for lack of a better word, bored. I don't know why, but it seemed like a slog in some places to me. So, however, that's just my reaction to the book. It's obviously a great discussion book, which is, yay for that. Good for her for, taking big swings. Because we'll never find out otherwise, what's going to happen. So I would be open to reading more of her stuff. But, like I said, I think I would have wished for something a little bit more grounded in terms of science. But, yeah, not that it has to be a hard science. Oh, and then this did this, and but something a little bit more than what we were given. So I just had too many questions at the end. So
I think I've mentioned this before that I just really, really like reading in first person.
Mhm.
And I have been trying to pay extra special attention to when I'm reading reviews, whenever I hear the word, I was bored.
Yeah.
And almost every time it is a book that's written in first person that I hear people reviewing it like that. I was
It'd be the other way
bored.
around because you get more thoughts.
And like, no, but that's the thing. You're so in the person's head that outside of it, not a ton of stuff is happening. Everything is happening like in their
so
thought
they're waiting
process.
for the action for the
Right.
for the,
And
for
so
the
people
progression.
are like, oh, I was so bored. And then like my other question is, I'm wondering if those people are also people who don't have an internal voice. Do you have an internal voice, Tom?
I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. No, but in a sense, it's like, suppose you had a TV and you only had one channel. How long would you stay interested in that one channel?
I mean, if it's all you got,
But
There's no other options
you were hearing Lori's voice and
Yes, and they had different audiobook narrators for them, which is good on them.
yeah, it was good production.
I thought it was did Albie? No, Albie
No.
was his own voice. That was one of the women, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we also listened to the audiobook, and I thought the audiobook was pretty good.
Yes.
They had accents.
Might actually have to reread it when it's out now.
Mhm.
You just have the arc?
Yes,
Because this is uncorrected proof. There could be stuff in the other one that is different.
that is true.
So,
But we listened to the audiobook. So,
oh, I didn't read this one.
right.
Oh, that makes sense.
Well,
So-
I think what she's saying is
I-
you heard the production.
I read the right one,
Yeah.
the new one, the corrected one.
I was trying to read along as often as possible, and there weren't any parts that I caught that didn't match
Okay.
up. That doesn't mean that there weren't parts like that. But I didn't catch them.
Okay,
So
all right.
we should be good. All right. Well, if
Oh.
you are still here, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for listening to us talk about The Merge by Grace Walker. I think it is a great discussion for this book and this story. And next month we are going to be reading Death of an Author by Nnedi Okorafor. And this was Tom's pick. Tom, do you want to say a couple sentences?
I've heard of the author before.
We've read one of her books before.
Hmm?
We've read one of her books before.
Do you remember which one?
I feel like it's part of a series.
Was she the Akata witch?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, I just heard, from New York Times, book review and such, really good things were said about the book. So, that's put it on the list.
Awesome. So that is what we're going to be reading for June. I will try to set up something on YouTube when we decide when we're going to be having our discussion, so that way you guys can know ahead of time.
You have
John
been beating
keeps
up this
taking-
book the whole time.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. One more time, if you ever want to be on camera with us to have the discussion and be part of our exclusive Facebook group and nominate books in a rotation, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/LibriLabra.
Join us.
Thanks for being here. Take it easy. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.